Today we're going to talk about Retail Pro Prism and specifically as it relates to upgrading from older versions of Retail Pro. I think the most important thing to point out is the fact that, when you look at the versions, Retail Pro version 8, version 9, Prism really is a brand new platform, right? This is not Retail Pro 10. So that's just something important to get out of the way up front. You're going to see a lot of differences in the look and feel, in the underlying technology, but it really is the way forward for Retail Pro. So there'll be a few things along the way that I point out as differences, but for the most part, I want to just focus on Prism and on the value of it as a platform. So the first big difference you'll notice, instead of running Prism from a Windows application that's going to open up a program window, this is actually running in a browser. So in my case, this is running in Google Chrome. That does not mean it's running over the internet. So you do not need to rely on internet connection. It just means it's using this browser window. And that's nice because it allows you to configure the look and feel very similar to the way that you would a website. So you can get things like high-res graphics, custom backgrounds, really do an entire theme around the platform versus just making small configuration changes like you would in older versions of Retail Pro. But you still have that same local database or cloud-hosted database is also available. But really what that allows you to do is still continue to work offline. Whether you were polling currently or whether you're not, you just have a single store. Either way, it doesn't matter because every point of sale has its own local copy of the most current data, and it's just going to utilize that if the network goes down and then synchronize everything when it comes back up. So the basic flow of this is pretty simple. If you look at the bottom right, you can see this button here for Retail Pro. This is your side menu. And the side menu is going to allow you to get to the main areas. Really, the three I'm going to highlight are point of sale, which is what I'm in now, store operations, that's your back of house functionality, and the admin console. You won't be in here too often, but for anyone who's familiar with workstation preferences and or system preferences, this is really a combination of all of them. So these are the preferences that you are able to set and configure within the system. Certainly as part of your upgrade process, most of what you have now will flow over and set as is, and the IMS team will be happy to work with you on making any changes or configuration settings and helping you understand really how all of those affect the way that you do business. So I'm just going to start here in point of sale where I already was. And you can see at the top, you've got really three different areas. So your basic point of sale, this is where you're going to be able to start a new transaction, look up an existing one, look at any pending or held transactions. Touch POS, I'll talk about that in a minute and the difference between Touch POS and a standard new transaction. But you can see there's things like disbursement, so reasons to take money out of the drawer, check in and check out, time clock functionality, and we'll touch on promotions as well. Customers, this is just going to be similar to what you have now with a customer history, customer record, where you can track information on customers. And there's also a built-in customer loyalty option. So this would be to look up a customer's loyalty points or loyalty level. And then your basic X and Z out functionality. Not a lot has changed here, just a different look and feel to the way that it functions. So jumping back to point of sale, there are two different options. The first option is going to be a standard new transaction. And when we go into the new transaction, you'll see a pretty basic layout. The flow of what you do isn't going to change too much, just some of the look, the feel, and possibly the verbiage as you go through. You still have an item lookup. This is where you're going to scan or enter information to search for an item, the different sale types. I'll explain this in a minute, but basically you have either a sale or a customer order, a sales order, as it would be called in older versions, and a return. And the nice thing here, by the way, is you can actually, if you do sales orders, as you know from older versions, you have to go through multiple steps to be able to do both an order and a receipt together. So if I have two items and I want to pay for one now and take it with me, but I also want to order an item to come back for later. That can be a bit of a process. But here it's actually one and the same because we can mark items as either a sale or an order, and the system will automatically split that out into two documents for you as the end of the process. You can also see along the right here the ability to create or enter a customer, and we're going to go through these steps. I'm just going to show you those in Touch POS, but I just wanted to highlight those now. So things like transaction details, all of your basic information that you would expect, an option for tender, and we'll go through that in Touch POS. So let me just jump back. And you'll see the big difference in Touch POS is the fact that you have touch buttons. So these touch buttons can be created and set however you like. They can be menus, they can be buttons for items. So for example, here's an Avengers pint glass. If I were to just select that, it would automatically add that to the transaction. There's my pint glass there. But let's say, for example, I sold jewelry. Well, within the jewelry, I have necklaces, rings, and earrings. If I wanted to select a necklace, then I could go down and select those actual items. So you can build this hierarchy. So for anyone in version 8 who had presets or version 9 had touch menus, this is the same functionality, except it's all built directly in Prism now. So you don't have to worry about really the way it felt before was it felt like it was a separate piece. You'd press the button for presets or touch menus and a separate window would pop up. You'd select the items and it would push them back on the transaction. This really all is one fluid piece now. It's all built in and you have configuration options directly through your admin console. So as you can see, I've added an item here. You can do things to this item. As I mentioned, the item type. So you can set it to a sale or an order, a return. Send sale if you have multiple locations. This just means that someone's going to pay for it here, but they're going to pick it up at a different location. You can also set the entire transaction type. So if you know everything's going to be a return or everything's going to be an order, you can just set the transaction type to that, and then that way you don't have to change each individual item. Customers are very quick and easy to add. In fact, it's called Quick Customer. And you can see this pops up and just says, tell me their information. Just as before, you can make any of these required, and then those fields would have a red border around them. I don't have any required fields, so I could take as little information as I like just to get a customer in the system. So if you simply, for example, just want to capture email address, that's fine. You can say that's the only required field to create a new customer. I'm going to go ahead and put myself on here because I'm already a customer. And I'm going to select this record. I'm in multiple systems here. And you can see that my information quickly and easily goes on to the transaction. Once we've added any items we want, again, through scanning, through lookup, or through our touch buttons, then we can simply tender the transaction. Now, Prism works off of a default tender. So you'll notice I don't have buttons for different tenders. Mine is cash for demo. Yours would probably be credit card. But if I wanted to select a different tender, I can click anywhere in this box and it will pop up my various tender types to be able to quickly and easily select a different tender. The default's just nice because if you do, say, for example, 80 to 90% credit card business, then you are able to just have that come up very quickly and honestly save yourself a bit of time. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and cash this out. I'm going to take the exact amount, and you can see that your payments show up here. You still have the ability to take an unlimited number of split tenders, so we could take 3 different credit cards and cash and a check all together in the same transaction. If there were any change, it would show in the window down here. Gift receipts are built in as well. So if this is something you want to utilize, there's nothing to do or configure or set up. You simply would select gift receipt. It's going to find any of the items. And then depending on how many items, you have the option to print 1-to-1, which is each item on its own gift receipt, 1-to-all, which is going to print every item to a gift receipt, or you can select items. So if you have 10 things here, but only 3 are gifts, select those 3 and say, hey, I want to print that selection. Again, built in, nothing to configure, nothing to set up, nothing to turn on. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and print and update this. And definitely one big change here, the ability to do email receipts completely built in. This can be backed with any email address as a return address. I'm simply utilizing a Gmail address. So you can see my email address is automatically populated because we already put me on this transaction. But if not, you could populate an email address here by simply typing it in. One thing that's important to note, typing in an email address here is only permission from a customer to get an email receipt. This is not considered an opt-in for an email program. So that's where we talked about before with Quick Customer, where you could create a Quick Customer, add their email address. That is considered opt-in, and a lot of that just comes down to how you portray that to the customer to tell them that they are opting into your email program. But just an important note that for legal purposes, asking them for an email to get an email receipt is not considered consent to be added to a mailing list. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and preview this just to give you an idea of what a receipt can look like. And honestly, receipts are still designable. All the documents are designable. It's just a different tool. So it's something we would help you with. The IMS team would help you with to set up the designs that you want now and then give you the tools to change those going forward. So you can do things like logos, like store information, and then standard things like maybe a return policy, or this is a promotion that I have running that I'll show you in a minute, 50% off of any second t-shirt. Okay, just going to cancel that, and that's just going to go on to the next transaction. So I'd mentioned the promotions. This is also under point of sale, and promotions is a module that Retail Pros spent a lot of time setting up here for Prism to really make this a powerful tool. Anyone who's used promotions in version 8 or version 9 knows that while they do work, they can be a little bit difficult to set up and navigate. This is very, very different than that. And I'm just going to walk you quickly through a promotion to give you an idea of what I mean. So we can see here the buy one, get one t-shirts. This is buy one, get one 50% off. I'm simply going to go into edit mode for this so you can see exactly what I've done to set this up. Really, the setup is simple. There's 4 tabs at the top. You have your general details. So this is what is it, right? What's it called? What's the description? What's the grouping for reporting? The discount reason, that's what shows up on a receipt. And then the type. There are multiple types. Our standard buy one, get ones, package pricing, quantity discounts, tiered, rolling, all the way up to custom, where you can really just decide whatever you want to do. Coupons are also nice because you can do individual numbered coupons. So if you want to send out 1,000 coupons via email, you can tell the system that you're sending out coupon number 1 through 1,000. And then not only will you know to give a customer a discount when they come in with that email, but also you would know exactly who that email address was or that person was that you sent it to, because they're individually numbered. So I'm just leaving it on buy one, get one. Like I said, general details, what is it? Activation is just when and where. You can set a start date and a start time down to the minute, as well as an end date and an end time down to the minute. And if you have multiple locations, you can decide where within your company that these discounts are valid, whether it be just a particular store or region or all stores. And the validation rules, this is really just what the customer has to do in order to get the discount or get the promotion. And in this case, it's the sale of items. I won't go into it, but I created an item filter that says anything with T in the description counts. This could also be a department or a specific vendor, really anything that you want to utilize to specify the items. So this is anything that's a T, they have to buy 1. You can set things like item subtotal. So you can say it's any t-shirt over $20. You can set a sales subtotal. They only get this promo if they spend $100 total. And then the reward is just the flip side. What do they get? What they get in this case is they get a quantity of 1, same filter, anything with T in the description, and they get it at a discount percent of 50. You can also do a discount dollar, so you get $5 off of a second t-shirt. You can do a fixed price, buy one t-shirt, get any t-shirt for $5, or you can utilize a specific price level that they would automatically get as their reward. And that's really it. Again, what, when and where, what do they have to do, and what do they get? It's a really robust module. You can combine all of your different promotions, decide what can be combined, what cannot be combined, but really you can have a lot of fun with this, kind of setting up promotions for people. And then on the store operations or back of house side, this is also pretty straightforward if you know Retail Pro to begin with. So we've got our different categories here. For example, merchandise. Merchandise contains inventory, your ability to do a physical inventory, your vendors and departments, and then any of your types of memos and a price manager. So all stuff that you're familiar with. You know, the look and feel, of course, is a little bit different. For example, when we go into inventory, the layout is going to be a filter first style. So it's going to say, hey, before I go and give you every item in inventory, do you want to set any filters to start with? You can say yes, or you can simply click search and bring up all of your merchandise, all of your inventory. You can hit the arrow here, and this will actually go ahead and get rid of the filter and give you a little bit more screen real estate to work with. If you want to add or remove columns, you can go through here, check and uncheck whatever is available. But this is what would be your current list view that you're familiar with. So this is just a listing of all your items. Every column is sortable. Every column can be sorted ascending or descending. You can also pin them to the left or right if you want to change the way that this layout looks. And then, of course, you still have your form view. And in this case, that would just be details. So I've simply gone and checked an item that I want to look at. And I want to look at details. And you can see all of the basic details, anything from, you know, description, attribute, size, price, cost, all of the basic information. And there are tabs across here to separate it. So this is general, this is price, cost. Here are some price, margin, tax information. Quantity, so this is quantity at various locations, including min and max. Purchasing, so if you have a set order cost or orderable or discontinued dates, you can see there's many options here, being able to set your min and maxes for your store level. And if you want to switch stores and change something, you have simple drop downs up here. You can switch and see any of your other locations specifically. You can also change price levels, and if you utilize seasons, change those as well. User-defined fields, if you're utilizing these in version 8 or version 9, they will carry over. As with version 9, you have an unlimited number of user-defined fields. These are all defined in your admin console, so in your preferences. And as you can see, I've done a lot of different examples of these where I've just changed the names to what I want and then made them their various types of fields, whether it be free text, drop down, or date field. And then miscellaneous is just going to have things like dates associated to items, and as well your style view to be able to look at items utilizing styles such as apparel with colors and sizes. So I'm just going to go back and walk you quickly through the other options here. So that was merchandise. Purchasing, pretty straightforward. The ability to create and manage purchase orders. Receiving, same thing, right? Terminology is still the same. It's still a voucher. There's ASNs for things like EDI. If you're using electronic data interchange, that also pertains to transfers as well. Not going to dig down into those details for the purpose of this video, but certainly if you're looking for a more customized one-on-one demo to be able to get into the weeds on some of this stuff, we'd be happy to help with that. Transfers, if you do store-to-store transfers, Still have basic transfer orders, transfer slips. Not much has changed here. Again, just different look and feel. And then for employees, you have employee and group management. So that information is going to carry up from your current version as far as your employees, their details, what groups and what rights and security that they have. So just to reiterate, definitely a different look and feel than version 8, version 9, but certainly a more modern, more updated look and feel. And, really the reality is that version 8 is 20 years old, end of support, end of life. And version 9 is 12 years old. It's not far behind it as far as support and end of life go. So really Prism is the path forward for Retail Pro. And as I said, again, we'd be happy to provide a more customized one-on-one demo, but hopefully this was helpful as a first introduction into the Prism platform.